that repeatedly.
I remember being abused in that garage. I remember there was an old fridge in that garage. When I was 3, I was put in it with all bugs and roaches and everything, and he shut the door on me, Peter did. Freaked me out. And I remember the dog. I used to have to run and hide from the dog, and he used to set the dog onto me. It was the first flashback I ever had, and it was of me being tied on my knees in front of a big table, and Peter and the next door neighbour, who was a really tall, well-built guy with brown curly hair, they murdered a little blonde toddler. Not toddler, it was about 3.
Peter had supposedly suicided. Fiona started having a lot of memories, a lot of flashbacks, a lot of memories coming up about what had happened.
Oh, well, I've been around when she's had ab reactions outside of therapy.
Right.
So I've been around when she's been upset.
Yep.
So there'd be times when she'd have memories come back, something's happened that's upset her and she's not known why, and then later on get upset, or something else has happened that's triggered her to be upset or angry. And
I've lived it, and you can't even possibly try to tell me that what I lived through was something from what it wasn't. You can't do that. You have no right to deny someone's personal testimony.
So many atrocities occurred in this house. There's too many to name. Multiple crimes for all of my childhood.
There's like your whole now.
Doesn't matter.
Yes.
They're good.
You had a sprout.
Shane, that's your bit, mate.
Oh, you got the special bit.
Shane, that's yours. That's SpongeBob SquarePants. Testicles.
Bad mother. Really bad mother.
Happy birthday, sweetheart.
Mm-hmm. I can still almost hear it. Is it here? It was a bit loud.
She's a good person, and the good thing, that one of the things I really admire about Fiona is that she is growing, and she's growing all the time, and I find that amazing. I don't think I'd be her friend if she was just in the doldrums and didn't want to get out of it. She has had a lot on her plate in her past, and she's working towards bettering herself every day, which is fantastic. We all should be doing that.
This is all spray painted fresh paint. This is your walkway. And this is fresh. This is since we were here a year ago. Cash, come and check that there's markings as we'd expect here. I think there is. There seems to be a path.
It wasn't difficult to believe. It was just new.
So you believe? Do you believe Fiona's descriptions of her past?
Yeah.
Lost the paint markings, haven't we? Oh, what do you reckon? Do we just follow the path? Yeah. This way? This place, there's graves everywhere here. It just goes for ages.
She isn't doing any, she's not motivated for her own gain at all. She is always motivated for the greater good, for social justice, for helping people that might need help.
She ends up in the mess of someone else's life so often. You know, the things that really matter about someone else's life. She's only just met the person and she's suddenly bought in and she's involved and she's helping them and she's advising them and what have you.
Without Fiona, none of this would have come to fruition. Fiona, I could never thank her enough for what she's done for me and for my son. For my son especially, you know, I'm an adult and you can pick and choose your friends when you're older, but when you're a child you trust everybody, and that's hard as a parent, to put somebody in front of them with such a big thing that's happened to them and expect them to trust again.
Well, with the Gary Willis, it was, you know, she couldn't sleep. You know, she knew it was going to be trouble going into that, but she couldn't sleep, and you know, she felt she was being asked to do something about it.
This particular teacher and a second teacher used to get these 13-year-old boys who are quite big. She had Down syndrome, this girl, and used to get the girls on the floor and get the boys to stick sticks up their vaginas while they masturbated.
And that's partly why I admire my mother so much, is because she chose not to deny it. She's intense, she's honest, selfless.
I just noticed living with intensity.
That's what it is. It's living with intensity in the flesh. In a way, her therapy and, you know, the healing she gained from that, it definitely eased a burden that never should have been there in the first place. Now there's a difference between the intensity her personality caused, and that's just her personality, you know, that's never going to change.
I was 8 when I was brought here. We were brought here in the daytime. I don't like being here at all. I'm very stressed at the moment. Brought here by my Lithuanian grandmother, Helen or Helena Miloweska or Holovchek. And we waited for nightfall. We got off at Waterfall train station, I believe. We were met here. Dr. Mark, Leonis Petruscus, was here, the red-headed mistress or partner or whatever of the Engadine policeman. My uncle David Holozak, my father's younger half-brother. And there were at least 2 other people here. There could have been 6 to 8 people looking down on me.
I was right out of my depths. Right out of my depths. Absolutely.
This is probably the worst memory from my childhood. I looked in the grave and there was a partially decomposed, there was a body of a partially decomposed, light-haired person. It was at least shoulder length, blondish, pale coloured hair. It was half decomposed, there was maggots. So it was fresh. It's a body that my perpetrators had put in here and prepared, you know, here's one prepared earlier. It was all ready to go. So like I said, there was at least 6 people. They had straps, picked my body up on the straps and lowered me down into a very deep hole. They laid me face up on top of the partially decomposed body. They were chanting. They were dressed in robes. I was naked. I have a very clear memory of being lowered down and them. It wasn't quite. I can see light, the silhouettes of them. So it must have been not too dark, or it's a full moon, something like that. And they're chanting to their pagan gods. And this is a rebirth ceremony. The decomposed body inside is called a ghoul. I was told that it would come to life once the lid was closed or once I was in there. I believed this thing was going to come to life. They put the lid on top and it went completely dark. And I thought this thing was then grabbing me and suffocating me. I was screaming my head off. I was screaming as much as an 8-year-old could scream, as loud as I could scream. I was screaming for God. I was screaming, Jesus, help me. I was terrified beyond words. and I exhausted all the oxygen in there. They left me in there too long. They didn't mean to do that, and I died. And I woke up in the emergency room of Sutherland Hospital. The room was tiled from floor to ceiling in pale bluish tiles. I was on a metal slab. There was an old oxygen tank, a big oxygen tank in the room. There was a big light shining in my eyes. There were nurses in shower caps. And one nurse, and I had a mask on my face, and one nurse said to me, "We nearly lost you." She was very warm, and then she said, "Mummy's here," and oh, my heart leapt. I thought my mum was there. I could see the door to my right. Wasn't Mummy, it was the red-headed witch that had helped lower me in the grave, the lover of Leonis Petriscus, and I don't know what she was, whether she was the wife or whatever of the fat Engadine policeman. She was a slim-built woman with very red hair, long red hair, and she had a black crucifix on a gold chain. And I remember looking at her and just thinking, that's not Mummy. But I couldn't say anything. And then Dr. Petriscus, or Dr. Mark, as I was made to call him throughout my younger years, released me into his care. And I was taken back to Engadine. I was taken back to Helen Holozak's house at 14 McAllister Avenue, and I was in there, and I remember being sitting in a chair, and I remember Leonis Petriscus just freaking out and pacing the room and talking in Polish or whatever, another language, to my grandmother, and they were all panicking and freaking out. And then I remember him subjecting me to unethical hypnosis and trying to make me forget the whole thing. And I remember I had a near-death experience during this. I went through a tunnel, and there was light at the end of the tunnel. I painted that tunnel on my bedroom wall at 40 Aringo Street, Budgewoi, when my mum and brother and I did a mural on my bedroom wall. And I painted the tunnel, and I told my mum that's the time tunnel, that's the Doctor Who time tunnel. And I knew it was the tunnel that I'd gone through when I died. You know, for those who say I'm making this up, live it and then tell me I made it up. I want to go now.